ki jai.
Vi skal følge de beslutninger, vi ikke tager.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're reading from Lila, second chapter, verse number 54. Yadyapi.
53 on the board.
What?
53 on the board.
Yadyapi. Yeah?
Virat.
Viradya Garbhas.
What is the verse there? What does it say?
Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Right. How can that be? How can that be?
Relax.
Take it easy.
Is there a verse number given? Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Yes.
Okay, got it, yeah. Go ahead. Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Karanam Seryupadaya.
Karanam Seryupadaya.
Isaya Yatri Virhinam.
Ishasya Yatri Virhinam.
Turiyam Tatpat Prakshakshare.
Turyam Tatpachakshase.
Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Karanam Setyupadaya.
Karanam Setyupadaya.
Isasya Yatri Virhinam.
Ishasya Yatri Virhinam.
Turiyam Tatprakshate.
Turyam Tatpachakshate.
Somebody?
Virat Hiranya Garbhascha.
Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Karanam Cheti Upadaya.
Karanam Setyupadaya.
Ishasya Trivirhinam.
Ishasya Yatri Virhinam.
Turiyam Tat Parchukshate.
Turyam Tatpachakshate. Virathiranya Garbhascha. Karanam Setyupadaya. Ishasya Yatri Virhinam. Turyam Tatpachakshate.
And the lady, or two.
Virathiranya Garbhascha.
Karanam Setyupadaya.
Karanam Setyupadaya.
Ishasya Tatri Virhinam.
Ishasya Yatri Virhinam.
Turyam Tatpachakshate.
Turyam Tatpachakshate.
One more.
Virathiranya Garbhascha. Karanam Setyupadaya. Ishasya Yatri Virhinam. Turyam Tatpachakshate.
All right. Virat,
Virat.
the Virat.
The Virat.
Manifestation,
Manifestation.
and that's what it is. Hiranyagarbha,
Hiranyagarbha.
Hiranyagarbha manifestation.
Hiranyagarbha manifestation.
Sa, end. Karanam, the Karana manifestation. Cha, end. Iti, thus. Upadaya, particular designations.
Material designations.
Ishasya, the Lord. That which, Yat, that which. Tribihi, these three. Hinam, without. Turiyam, the fourth. Tat, that. Pratrakshati is considered. In the material world, the Lord is designated as Virat, Hiranyagarbha and Kadana. But beyond these three designations, the Lord is the ultimate in the fourth dimension. Virat, the phenomenal manifestation of the Supreme Whole, Hiranyagarbha, the luminous soul of everything, and Karna, the cause or cause nature. All these are but designations of the Purushas who are responsible for material creation. The transcendental position surpasses these designations, therefore called the position of the fourth dimension. Turiya. This is a quotation of Srila Swami's commentary on the 11th canto, chapter 15, verse 16, Bhagavata. Magyanti Dandasya Ganandana Shalakaya Chakshrumitam Nina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitamina Bhutale Swayam Bhupa Vayahadaram Dalati Swaparantikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama. So there's talk here of Turiya that attracted my attention in this verse. Turiyam Tatrakshati. Turiyam is the Supreme Lord, beyond everything, beyond the material nature. It's called Turiya. And there's a difference between different forms of Krishna and different degrees of Krishna, really. Part and parcels, and even parcels of the parts and parcels. And Turiya is the highest. Just like, for example, if you look at one thing, material consciousness generally, when we awake, awakened consciousness is a dream. There should be a dreaming to be Catholics, we are dreaming to be Protestants, we are dreaming to be Hindus, we are dreaming to be Muslims, we are dreaming to be man, wife. I mean, all these things are like a dream, because actually there's no substance there. Ultimately, we all vanish from one moment to another, and we die. So that's sleep, and that's called Jagradibi, waking consciousness, means waking, dreaming, practically speaking. The material world is a dream. Material consciousness is a dream. And then Swapna is ordinary sleep. That is when we really sleep, we lie in bed, we sleep. And so in Swapna, it is possible that we fly. You know, that, I explained this before, that we have dreaming, that we are flying, and what happens really there is that the soul travels in the subtle body. Normally the soul is in the heart, but the soul can travel in the subtle body. And in the subtle body, namely intelligence, or mind, intelligence, and ego, we see so many different things. So in the dream, Prabhupada describes this. One time, let me just have a look at it, what he says. See if I can find it. Prabhupada said exactly that. I can't find it now. That in sleep, when we are dreaming, we are flying in our subtle body from one place to another. That can happen. And so, who of you sometimes flies when he's sleeping. Yeah. Right, you too, no? You never fly?
I don't remember.
You're missing out. I mean, it's you fly into a room and on the other side out. I had various kinds of states like this. I remember when we wanted to buy the island in Ireland, I was obsessed by the idea to buy it, but we couldn't go there because we didn't want to disturb the negotiation of our lawyer with the owner. And so at night I flew. I literally flew from our temple in Dublin to that place. It's about 2 hours by car. And in my dream I saw the island coming and I flew into one of the windows. And there I saw, here's a green room, there's a chaiselong there, there's a piano there, and there's the middle room, and then there's the other room again, sitting facility, there are chimneys there. Then I went into the main room, which was later used as the prasadam room. Then I went into the kitchen and all these things. I went upstairs, I went to the main room where the owner was sleeping and they were sleeping. And it was so graphic that when I came back from this dream, I actually made a map. And I said, this is the building we're going to buy. Here is the first floor, here's the second floor, the ground floor, second floor, the ground floor, first floor. And when we ultimately moved in, it was like that. It was like that. So the obsession to buy that place was so strong, and my concentration was so strong that I actually visited the place in my subtle body. So that's possible, and Srila Prabhupada explains this also. Let me just find it. It's very nice to hear that.
You can get a job at the CIA.
Huh?
You can get a job for the CIA. Spying.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not in control of that. He says, one can experience the distinction between the subtle and gross body even daily in a dream, when one's gross body is lying on the bed, while the subtle body, the gross body, is called stula savira, bhume aponaru, earth, water, fire, air, either, and then the subtle body, linga savira, is gross body is lying in bed, while the subtle body carries the soul, living into another atmosphere. But because the gross body has to be continued, the subtle body comes back and settles in the present gross body. Why does he come back at all? It's because of attachment. There's a cord. It's called, sometimes it's called a silver cord. In Buddhism, in Tibetan Buddhism, it's called a silver cord that brings us back. I mean, even if somebody is drunk, he finds his house. Although there are so many houses and so many doors, but he finds because he's attached to wife and children, right? So it's a subtle, like a rope. It's like a, what do you call it, bingo, when people jump from something and get pulled up again?
Bungee jump.
Huh?
Bungee jump.
Bungee?
Bungee jump.
That's the one. You see, you pulled back by this. Now, therefore one has to become free from the subtle body also. That freedom is called mukta linga, Prabhupada says. So we have the gross body, we have the subtle body, and when we sleep, we are in our gross body and our subtle body, and sometimes the soul takes a trip on the subtle body and goes here and there to places. Very easily understandable, actually. And that is called here, namely swapna, ordinary sleep. Then there's susupti, that's deep sleep. Why? If you have a good rest, we have a nice sleep, deep sleep, why will you refreshed? Anybody has an idea?
Because you're resting in Brahman.
Almost there, almost. I will go into the details. That the soul in deep sleep is stated here actually. You just find it. When that occurs in deep sleep, the soul passes through the door of the nadis, the so many thousands of nadis, enters a place of remembrance surrounding the heart, and sleeps on the bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the amazing thing. The soul sleeps on the bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and rests. And that is the very reason why we feel recharged. It's like when you put your handy on a charger, it becomes, by the association with electricity, it becomes recharged. So there's a daily process in deep sleep. As the soul rests actually on the bed, it's described like this, on the bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The back?
On the bed.
On the bed?
On the bed, B-E-D, on the bed, like a bed.
Okay.
You're resting on the bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what it says here. When that occurs, the soul passes through the door of the nadis, enters the memory of the heart, and sleeps on the bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, all three places are involved in the activity of dreamless sleep. But, now it comes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always Turiya. He's in the fourth dimension, so he's not touched. You see, although I sleep in his bed, not that Krishna is lying here, I'm there. He's Turiya, he's transcendental, he's in the fourth dimension, he's in another dimension. That's what it says in this verse, also we had this today. What was the verse? Turiyam, Pratrakshati. The soul is resting on the bed of God, but he is remaining always Turiya. So these are the three stages of sleeping that we have. Deep sleep, and we have what we call the dreaming sleep, called Swapna, ordinary sleep, Jagradivi, waking consciousness, Swapna, ordinary sleep, and Susupti, deep sleep. And in Susupti, deep sleep, the sensational news for practically everybody is that we are sleeping on the bed of the Supreme Personality of God. That's the description of Baladev Vidyabhushana. That's an incredible idea. I never heard this in church. I've heard unlimited preachings in church, so many sermons. I never heard such a thing. I never heard even the difference between the gross body and the subtle body. I never heard that when we fly in the dream, that what actually happened there. No priest can explain to you what actually, not even the Pope. Because these are the informations from Vedic scriptures. The Vedic scriptures are very deep. They're actually given by God. And what is it? Dharma hi sakshat pranitam. No one can manufacture religion. You may manufacture religion, but it is still good, but not very good. You know, just like our religions we experience here in the material world, Western religion, they're blind. It's like a blind uncle. In India there's a saying that the blind uncle is better than no uncle. Uncle has an important function, isn't it? You're from India? Uncle has an important function. If the children are fighting with the parents are fighting with the children, or the wife is fighting with the husband, then the uncle comes in. He's kind of negotiating or mitigating, or reconciling the differences. So it says, even if the uncle is blind, still, a blind uncle is better than no uncle. So material religion is still necessary. Because if you would finish off all material religions, you can't hire enough policemen to keep law and order. You can't, because that's what keeps people still, most people, or at least religious people, somewhat semi-religious people, in line, is that they don't steal, they don't do these things because they're afraid of God. You know, like for example, I one time was preaching in Egypt. It was very cold in Germany, and we took a trip to Egypt, just 3 hours, and it was perfect weather. And we were resting there and preached to many Muslim boys that came from the University of Cairo. It was interesting. And so I used to go shopping, and the man gave me a bill for the sabji, and I said to him, Allah shufkul. It means Allah sees everything. So he said, oh, I'm sorry. He made another bell, cheaper bell, because people are God-fearing. But the Muslims are actually quite God-fearing. They're afraid of God. Allah Shufkul. And every time I thought I get remember, they say Allah Shufkul. And oh, I'm sorry. So religion has even material religion has a function. It's important, but it is not the perfection of religion. Just like when I never could understand by Prabhupada, by Lord Shiva was instructed by Krishna in the presence of Parvati, there's a verse, to preach Mayavad philosophy. It never clicked why Krishna would do that. And then, but Prabhupada said Mayavadi philosophy is in the last snare of Maya, and I understood it in one way, okay, it's a snare, people fall into it. But then another time I heard that Prabhupada said Mayavadi philosophy is very necessary because it protects the purity of pure bhakti. It protects it. How is that? Just like when we come to the spiritual world, the classical picture, at least in Christianity, St. Peter is there, he has a key. So we come to the pearly gate, as they say, and St. Peter opens the door and said, what do you want? I said, I want to come in. Okay, you have any desires to satisfy? Yeah, I want to become one with God. He said, oh, well, that's a very good idea. There's a religion right there. Go back to the earth and enjoy that situation. You see, it's a trap. Somebody comes to St. Peter at the pearly gate and he says, he rings a bell and Peter comes over and says, what you want to come in? Okay. Well, you have any desires? He said, yes. I like to eat meat. I can't get away from eating meat. So Peter says, all right, there's a religion for that. There's plenty of meat-eating religions. So in that sense, they're useful because they're trapping people so that they can't go into the final transcendental world. Or somebody says, Peter says, what's your desire? He said, well, I want to enjoy the 97 virgins. As in Muslim religion, when you die for Allah, you enjoy 97 virgins, and actually not just the virgins, if you really look deep, boys also, you enjoy boys. You enjoy everything in sex. So they say, yes, okay, they go back. There's religion for that. And so these different material religiosities, they actually protect the purity of devotional service. It's a trap. Like a king surrounds his castle with traps. And an elephant sometimes falls into a trap. This is where they catch an elephant. These are traps. They are necessary. And in this way we have to understand why Krishna is a creator even of mundane religiosity. By the end of the day, everything we experience is a long arm of Krishna. You may see the immediate cause, which may be Martin Luther, starting Protestant religion. Or you may see the immediate cause in St. Paul, inventing Christianity. I mean, there's a difference between, I used to study this in comparative religion, that the fact is that even if you study in the university, there's a clear understanding there's a historical Jesus, and then there is an official church Jesus. And that was invented by St. Paul. There's so many examples I could give, I don't want to get into that. And we have this, practically speaking, like we have in ISKCON West, Krishna West, right? You've heard about that. It's people try to change this, that, what Prabhupada said. In the same way, Christianity really is Jesus West. That's what it is, it's Jesus West. It's, in the first generation already, like we experience this in our society, in the Gaudiya Math, right after Bhaktisiddhanta, people started to concoct. It's a human nature to concoct, to introduce. While Prabhupada, when he would see something was new, he said, who introduced that? Who introduced that? Because the nature of human beings is to introduce something different. And so you can see, if you even have an eye for our society, I travel quite, you see different things have been introduced by fertile minds. And they put, in the Bible it says, you, namely the priest, you put, the law of God is one, but you impose hundreds of laws on the people that you yourself can keep. It's very interesting. You introduce hundreds of deviations, and you yourself, ultimately you will go away. We've seen that. The morning prayers become longer and longer. I have personally experienced it. The person who introduced it in our zone, he left. And so we are all sitting there and having to follow something that Prabhupada actually not introduced. Prabhupada kept things very simple. So the nature of a human being is to introduce. And Prabhupada says the humanity is like the tail of a dog. Like you see sometimes a street dog, his tail goes like this, right? If you stretch it, it's okay, but when you let it loose, it flips back. So most people are incorrigible. Incorrigible. They flip right back. Even if they promise, somebody comes and says here, comes from Paris, and he goes to our farm boy, our milk boys, right? He said, can I milk? He said, I will milk the cows for the rest of my life. This is my dream. Next week you come, the guy's gone. It's like he flips back into his old ways, right? And so to flip back in our old ways, that's the oldest, that's the human nature. That we always go back to our old habits. And the way to sort that out, since we're at the subject, is only by Krishna's mercy. And Krishna's mercy is available if we do serve him, if we please Krishna. Then he will change everything. We cannot work without Krishna's blessing. Like even Haridas Thakur said in Harinam Chintamani, that nobody in this world, he says, can chant the Hare Krishna mantra without distraction. Unless he gets the mercy of Krishna. That's the point. That's what he said, unless he gets the mercy. So if somebody can chant really well, that means he gets the mercy of Krishna. If somebody does very well in devotional service, he got the mercy of Krishna to do so. It's not possible otherwise. So in everything, the main ingredient in all our activities, if we want to change and we want to be better devotees, yes, we have to make an endeavor, but ultimately the mercy of Krishna does it. Does it. Like Krishna says, his famous verse, Machita sarva durgani, mat prasaram tarishyasi. If you direct your consciousness towards me, Machita, then sarva durgani, all the difficulties that come from Maya, Aryamika, Adidevika, Adiborika. Three tapatraya, three sufferings in this material world. Adhyatmika. You drive a car on one street from here to, what is the next village?
Écueillé.
Lucy-de-Mal.
Lucy-de-Mal.
Okay, you drive out, and in the middle of you fall asleep and crash into a tree. That's Aryamika. Suffering that comes from the mind and from the body of a human being. He falls asleep, or he looks at the same time he looks at some movie, or he uses his telephone, hello, and drives into another truck. This is Aryamika. Now another guy drives from the chateau to Lucy-de-Mal, and when he drives down, all of a sudden a tractor comes out. A thick-headed farmer comes out with his tractor, and he drives into it. That suffering is called Adiborika. You drive down again from Lucy-de-Mal, from the chateau Lucy-de-Mal, and all of a sudden there is some ice on the street. I had this accident, that all of a sudden there's ice on the street. The street makes a bend and it was straight into the other side. Into the other side. There was a big truck coming. I went into the plank. Big truck came, and just I was kicked back, and the truck got me just at the back. And so I started spinning. I went into that line, in lane, plank, and again over there. And again the same thing happened. And then again we got kicked to the other side, and we rode over the plank. It was at 9 o'clock, it was pitch dark. And so we rode, and finally the car came to a standstill like this on the side. The motor was still sputtering, it was pitch dark. The light was going on, and I saw that we had this big picture, this big, of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda dancing like this. And when we came out of the windshield, 5 meters in front of us, Lord Chaitanya was standing like this. And we could understand, it was wonderful. We could understand he saved us. You see? But what I'm getting at, there are different kind of causes of our distress. There's 3 causes, namely Adhyatmic, Adhibodic, Adi. So Krishna says, Machita, if you direct the consciousness towards me, then Mat Prasadam, by my mercy, all the Machita, Sarva Durgani, all difficulties that come from Mother Durga, Tapatraya, 3 sufferings, they are symbolized by the trident of Durga. There's a trident there. These are the 3 sufferings that are always pushing us in some way or another. It's always, you just finished with one suffering. I just broke myself 3 ribs in Spain. I'm just recovering. It's just a matter of time that I fall or somebody hits me on the head or somebody doesn't remember that I need to eat prasadam or whatever. There's always one of the sufferings that come in, sooner or later. Or you have headache, you have a toothache and whatnot. These are the 3 sufferings, so Machita. Direct our conscience towards Krishna. And the best way to do that is actually to chant Hare Krishna mantra. That's the best way to do that, to fix our mind on Krishna. That's the yajna. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, of yagas I'm the chanting of the holy name Japa. It's right in Bhagavad Gita. So if we follow this as a yajna, if we try to focus as much as possible, in particular the best meditation and chanting is if we remember that we chant in the presence of God. This is the most intense association you can have in the whole world, in the whole universe, is association with God. As much as we associate with Prabhupada when we read Prabhupada's books. So that's the way, if we make an effort, we have to make an effort, but the effort is not enough. You need Krishna's mercy. We have to do our best, and then Krishna will do the rest. That's actually the process. Without the mercy of Krishna, no matter what we do, we can stand on our head, we can try to fly, we can work like a dog, and still, we will not be successful unless we have the mercy of Krishna. And the mercy of Krishna, Yeyatama Prapaditi, according he surrenders unto me, I reward him. That is right in our scripture, Krishna says. So we see these 3 states that if actually I want to elevate myself, I can do so by my endeavor, but that will never be sufficient. That's good, but it's not very good. Very good is if I keep focus on Krishna and pray for his mercy. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said that I can just look this for you. Give me a moment. Where would that be? Here. There would be. Give me 1 second. First to hear that. There I have it. Let me see. Okay. Chant anyway. The famous prayer by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Here. He says, and listen very carefully because I'm now reading about you and me. You will identify with what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Your mind is wandering all over the universe when you chant. Chant anyway. Your mind is wandering to the past and future when you chant. Chant anyway. This is true. Sometimes you think of the past, sometimes future, you go here and there in your mind. You're not able to concentrate on Krishna's name while you chant. Is anybody here who can identify with it that sometimes you can't? Lift your hand. See? Look around. Everybody's in the same boat. You have no taste for chanting. Exactly. Chant anyway. You have material desires. Yes, chant anyway. You're making offenses in chanting. Yes, chant anyway. Then he says, that's very intelligent. You're not praying to Krishna to help you to chant better. There it is. You're not praying to ask Krishna to help you to chant better. So the same element is there, that we have to do our best and Krishna will do the rest. We have to do something and then Krishna will do the rest. And Prabhupada was working like this. Prabhupada worked very hard. But it's not that his work in itself brought all the results. Krishna showered him with mercy. You cannot start a movement like this in an age of 60, 70. Not possible. But he got Krishna's mercy. And by Krishna's mercy, then Krishna would bring in people. Then everything becomes easy. Just like anybody who has been doing Sankirtan, book distribution, you know that you have to work very hard. I used to travel, I used to have, 20 books in a bag, they are a backpack. Inside there were 15 books in the bag. And I had 20 here, locked into the backpack. So 20 Bhagavatams here, 15 in the bag. And so you have to really work hard to get rid of them as soon as possible, because otherwise you collapse. So Rohini Sutta and myself, we used to compete like that. And so it's hard work, but then at one stage you get into an ecstatic situation that everything goes very easy. This state of mind is called among trained Sankirtan devotees the super distribution ecstasy. The super distribution, and you really can distribute like a god. And so that's only possible by Krishna. I myself had this situation to distribute so many books is not humanly, not possible even. And when I realized that when the last book was gone, I became so puffed up, and then the next 3 hours I couldn't sell any single book. Krishna smashed me right into the face. Everything is done by Krishna's mercy. And so we have to remember that it's an important principle. And he says, even while praying, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, are you praying to Krishna to help you to chant better? That's a good prayer. And particularly to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Because they are actually introducing the chant. Lord Nityananda is the greatest preacher in the universe. But Lord Nityananda is right there. And we can pray to Lord Nityananda for that reason. Nityananda Vadu Tendu Vasudeva. There's a whole verse there that appeals for the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And so by Krishna's grace, by the grace of Guru also, a layman can cross over a mountain. A fool can become a great speaker. And a blind man can see the stars in the sky, it is said. A blind man can see the stars by the mercy of Krishna. Everything is possible. Everything is possible. Why are some devotees performing very well? Well, they got an enormous amount of mercy. But it's not that it came from nothing. Why sometimes you see a devotee very young. There's a boy in Czech Republic. He is something 12 years old. He chants every day 64 rounds since years. Think about that. Think about that. Unbelievable. In school, he said, if I have to chant, you kids leave me alone. Talk later. He sits there on the tree and chants. And the teachers are respectful. They're amazed how he can do that. So he must have, from last life, he has a big package of punya with him to be able to do this in this life. No doubt about it. So some people can do, even devotees, some devotees can do huge, because they have that specific package of punya in the back, and then Krishna helps them to do very well. This is what it is, that we have to depend on Krishna's mercy, but that mercy is not available for nothing. We have to do something. And then Krishna will help you. Not that we say, all right, I depend on Krishna, Krishna make me chant nicely. It doesn't work like that. Sasvarup Maharaj, he was running a temple in Boston, and they were very low on money. So he said to his friends, devotees, he said, whatever money we have, we spend it now for Krishna by buying many flowers and decorate the altar very gorgeously. And then Krishna has to take care of us because we have no money anymore. And so they sent this picture to Prabhupada of the beautifully decorated temple with so many, Sringasan, with so many flowers. And Prabhupada called them up. He said, why, how can you have so much money to do that? He said, well, we don't have money. Prabhupada said, then? He said, well, we took whatever we have. And we said, let's now give everything to Krishna and then he will take care of us. And Prabhupada said, Krishna is not your servant. You know, you're the servant of Krishna. So he said, you have to do well and then Krishna will help you. What did he say exactly? I think that's what it was. He said, you have to do your service nicely and then Krishna will help you. So that's the principle. We have to work. Here's a nice formula. We have to work as it depends on us. It means you have to work like a dog. You can push yourself. But we know that actually the mercies come from Krishna. You have to work as if it depends on you, but you know that ultimately everything depends on Krishna at the same time. That's a kind of a good formula that we think about. You know, so this is what happens, and I just see, I'm looking at my screen here, and it's my screensaver, and it says that there's a Hare Krishna mantra there, and then it says, in the presence of Krishna. Because that's good, the screensaver goes on again and again, and you always remember, in the presence of Krishna. If you chant in the presence of Krishna, our chanting will be nice. And we can learn this, and the more we do so, more Krishna will say, yes, I'm here. But if you say, it's still something, but it is not very good. Krishna is not there because your mind is all over the place. As soon as you start chanting, especially when you start chanting, you say Hare Krishna, Facebook, then you chant further, TikTok, and you chant further, and my wife, and you chant further and say, oh, my friends. It goes on like this, you know, the mind is being torn here and there, different forces. This is Maya. Why is Maya bothering us like that? Why? Why is Maya actually serving Krishna? There's in the Lord's Prayer, if you're a Christian, you know in the Lord's Prayer, and do not lead us in temptation, it says. How does the Lord lead us in temptation? You ask any priest, he doesn't know. We know, because that temptation, the so-called devil, that's actually Krishna's energy. Maya is testing you and makes your life difficult, miserable. So then, by this miserable, you turn to God. In misery, people suffer. In misery, people turn to God. Like we had one devotee into war in Vietnam, and he says, in foxholes, you know, foxhole is when you dig a hole, the bombs are going, snipers go you, but you're in the foxhole, you know. In the foxhole there are no atheists. There are no atheists. As long as they're in the foxhole in danger, they pray, and then as soon as danger is over, they walk in. I was flying one time in a plane from Dublin to Boston, and the plane was full of Irish Catholics. And so for a pilot make an announcement, be very careful, we are flying into a turbulence. Please fasten your seatbelt. And people go, oh, oh, and it was dramatic. And the priest stood up. He could, and now let us all pray to Mary, our Father who is in heaven. He started to pray, and all the Irish people got their rosaries out and started praying, intensely praying in this anxiety. Then after some time it became more peaceful. And then finally the captain came on the intercom and said, the danger is over. And immediately everybody called the stewardess to serve whiskey and wine and Guinness. It was all over from one moment to another. That's the nature of human being. That's the nature, right there, you know. So Maya is giving us trouble because he wants us to realize we have to turn to Krishna to get out of this situation. Krishna has to help me to get out of here. Right? Our life becomes very uncomfortable in the material world. The more we go towards Krishna, the more we want to go to him, because Maya is serving us in this profession to give us as much trouble as possible. And in trouble, most of us, or many of us, we went through so much trouble even depression, and then we finally turned to God. My own son, he was, my younger son, he was playing Doom. You know Doom? It's a computer game, old computer game. Up to 4 o'clock. I mean, we were chewing our nails up to the elbows. We were so in anxiety about him. And every night up to then 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, he was playing Doom all night. Then he couldn't sleep anymore at all. And then he fell into a deep depression. And so in this deep depression, if you can't sleep, it's very depressive. Then somehow they picked up a book of Srila Prabhupada, and he read. And he read, and he read, and his mind became completely absorbed in that thing, and he poured himself out, one bit after the other, till finally he listened to all the 3,000 tapes of Srila Prabhupada 3 times, and completely repaired himself. Now he's a Harinam leader, because he did his best, and Krishna did the rest. This is how that works. We have to do our part, and then Krishna helps us. You know, we have to do our, and so that's what Prabhupada told me, but you have to do your part, and then Krishna will help you, not that you just stand there and say, please Krishna, send your mercy. You know, I'm here, I'm waiting for your mercy. You know, that's not the process. Like there is this, some people in South India, in Kerala, they worship Amma. Have you heard of Amma? It's a lady, the claim is that she is an incarnation of Matsya, or whatever the situation. So I don't want to elaborate on, but his followers, they think, Amma, take me away. Amma, take me away, will you carry me? Let me rest in the sweetness of your smile. Take me away, take me away. Sounds good, but it's actually not right. It's not that we wait for God to take us away. We have to do something. Then Krishna will take us away. Just like Prabhupada talked to this lady, what was her name? The jazz musician. What's her name? Let me just see. She came to Vrindavan, and she said to Prabhupada, Alice Coltrane. She came to Vrindavan, and she said to Prabhupada, I'm in trouble. I have so many difficulties, this difficulty, that difficulty, so many things, you know. And Prabhupada said, Alice, you just chant, and everything will be revealed to you. Beautiful. He said, just chant, and everything will be revealed to you. That's the thing. We have to do the work, and then Krishna will help us. You know, without that. And some people can do the work very well, because they're already from previous life, from previous work, they have achieved a more elevated state by the mercy of Krishna. It's all the mercy of Krishna by the end. I remember one of my examples I gave many times, that I went to one big yoga festival. It was in a park. So many tents were there, and I spoke to the top yogi. He was a Hatha yogi. He was famous. He organized the whole thing. And so we walked at noon, and he said, I have to eat something. I said, all right, what do you want to eat? So we went to this pavilion, and he ordered meat. I said, my God, how come you're eating meat? He said, well, I can't stop this habit. He said, I tried many times, but I can't stop it. I always, remember the dog's tail, I always flip back. And I said, well, I had never a problem with eating meat. I joined the Hare Krishna movement, and that was it. And he said, that means you have the mercy of God. With the mercy of God, I don't have that mercy that I can give up eating meat. I don't have that mercy. I tried, I fell back like a dog's tail. He said, anybody can do something extraordinary like this. He has God's mercy. And I found that it was very profound. He realized that he depends on Krishna, but of course he has to do something, and that part he didn't really understand, that he has to do the best, and then Krishna will do the rest. So I will summarize now that we can be in material consciousness, which is a dreaming, daydreaming, and we imagine ourselves to be this and that due to ahankara, false ego. We are living out a false ego. The real ego is the soul. And then there is the dreaming state where we fly. We possibly fly. The body lies in bed and we fly in our subtle body. And then there's the next stage where we enter, as it says here, we're entering the nadis, and then ultimately the core of the heart, and ultimately we rest on the Supreme Personality of God. And still Krishna is not affected, because he's Turiya. He's beyond everything there is. He's Turiya. So next time you sleep, you wake up very early or very well rested. You should know you're well rested and energetic, because you actually slept on the bed of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Krishna's presence, we became recharged. It is a very thrilling idea, if you think about that. You know, that's an unusual idea, but it's right from Scripture. Right from Scripture, in that particular state of, what was it? Let me just check here. Find this. Deep sleep. Deep sleep, there it is. There's waking consciousness, ordinary sleep, svapna, and susupti, deep sleep. There's three stages of consciousness, jagrati, svapna, and susupti. The first stage is wakefulness, second is sleep, the third is deep sleep, unconsciousness. When you awake, your consciousness is very acute, very strong. In sleeping state there's consciousness, but it's not active. In a state of deep sleep, the consciousness is subdued, it is not working. You're not very aware of that. You know, can you imagine you would be aware of that? And you start advertising, you know, I sleep on Krishna's bed. So Krishna doesn't allow it to have any perception of that state. At the same time, you are there. So I thank you very much. It was what I tried to get together. You have any questions? Was that interesting, Mataji? Any other questions?
It's that it's because you have the mercy of God that you can refrain from eating meat. Could also be seen as a bad excuse.
Huh?
It could also be seen as a bad excuse. Oh, you have the mercy of Krishna.
Yeah, we shouldn't excuse ourselves.
I don't have, so I cannot stop.
You know, we should be humble. We should say, well, you know, great he has.
No,
it.
from his side. I mean,
Yeah, sure. Because we always make excuses like that. You know? Human being is a excuse machine. You know? Just like the cows, they're a fresh machine. They just eat all day. If you look at them, all day they're eating. There's not a moment when they don't eat, right? Except when they're ruminating, when they're, you know, what's it called, ruminating, I think. Ruminating, you know. But otherwise they're eating all day. They're completely is rude, and I'm a cow, and nothing matters to me as long as there's a lot of green grass. That's the main thing. And nobody bothers me.
I'm just happy you mentioned this, that in ISKCON or in human nature we have this tendency to add things, to concoct, add extra things, and the morning program becomes longer and longer.
Yeah.
But the person who established it, he's just gone.
He's gone.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah. It's true, it's true.
That's very true. I mean, in Prabhupada, one of the last things he said, second last day, somebody gave him medicine. And Prabhupada said, I took some medicine, and Prabhupada said, did you close the bottle? I said, Srila Prabhupada, I forgot. I said, that's your disease, Prabhupada said, all of you. You know how to open bottles, but you don't know how to close them. You start so many new things, and you don't see the consequences. You don't see the consequences. Like I saw, if you see some of our Harinam parties in certain parts of the world, it's outrageous. The women are waving tapes and whatever, and the brahmacharis running with balloons around. I mean, where did you get that? Where did you get that from? Prabhupada said, who introduced that?
Prabhu, with what?
Huh?
Do you run around with what?
Huh?
Do you run around with what in Harinam? Do you run around with what in Harinam?
Balloon.
Balloon.
Balloons, brahmacharis. You see, I tell you what Prabhupada's idea is. One time our Jananivas, he gave a lecture in Mayapur. It was full of Indians, Bengalis. There were some Western, all Bengalis. Okay. So then after the lecture said, now all of you should get up and chant. And so they all got up and started chanting. You know what they did? The same old Swami step that we have learned from Srila Prabhupada. It was wonderful. They made a circle, men and women walking around in the same fashion, old granny fashion that Prabhupada taught us. You know, I was amazed. You know, that's actually the culture. That's actually the culture. That's where Prabhupada got it from, because he's a part of Lord Chaitanya's culture.
Culture?
Culture. That's our culture actually. But then people add on to it. Let's add this and add that and that. Adding on, this is a disease, Prabhupada said. The idea to Paul, he said clearly, St. Paul in his letter said he never listened to any authorities. What kind of guy? As soon as somebody says he never listened to authorities, come on, take a hike, you know. That's what it's all about, to listen to authorities. So he concocted so many things. Jesus never knew that he was dying for the sins of the world. Where's that coming from? It comes out of the mind. You know, that's not the fact, you know. And so many other things, you know. Jesus is the Son of God. He never said he's the Son of God, you know. And then they say there's only one Son. So how come it says our Father who's in heaven? That means it's also my Father, it's also your Father. Our Father is in heaven, but it's only one Son. Now how is it possible? What are the theologians saying? How can I be the Son of God and there's only one Son? He said, well, it's like this, that your Father is your Father, your earthly Father that conceived you. He is your Father. But you're actually an orphan. You're orphan of God. Now, by the mercy of Jesus, you become adopted sons of God. So, they say, our Father in heaven, you are adopted sons of God. You're not really our fathers on earth. You're adopted sons of God. This is, you know, it's like this, you know. It's a construct. There's no reality to it. I think Krishna has a laugh about it when he hears that. You know, it's just bizarre. You know. So in the same way, the idea of the how do you say, the original sin, and we are suffering because of Adam and Eve sinned. Very common concept in Christianity, you know. But how is that possible? That I mean, even the most materialistic governments in this world don't think when your father is in debt that you have to work for that. You don't. Maybe in the old days, and people would put the father and the children into prison and work hard till that is all paid off. But that's a very archaic process that nobody in the Western world believes about anymore. The father dies in debt, but that's his problem. It's the problem with the bank, not that the kids have to work that off, you know. So it's where does it come from? It comes from a very archaic way of thinking. You know, the sin of Adam, I have to suffer. No, everybody has to suffer his own, everybody has to drink his own cup. And if you look at Jewish religion, which is older than Christianity, they say exactly that everybody has to drink his own cup. You can't just, I can't die for you. If I commit a crime, I have to suffer, not you. Why should you suffer? Even if you go to the judge and say, I'm going to suffer, he said, no. He has to suffer because you have to correct him. The suffering is his correction. So God could say from one moment to another, everybody go back to the spiritual world. Of course he can. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't want that. Why? Because in the whole spiritual world we're filled with fools and rascals. Obviously. People are not reformed, right? So the whole material world is actually, I would say, a correction institution. To correct living entity from false ego to real ego, namely to be an eternal servant of God. That's the purpose of it. It's the purpose of the material world. And so the idea that somebody dies for my sin, you don't have to do anything anymore. You can stay as you are and go to heaven, and Jesus paid your bill and you enjoy it with the angels and whatever is there. This is not real, you know. It's not real. This is not philosophy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And Lord Srila Prabhupada.
Prithu Prabhu ki
Jai.
jai.
Bonjour, monsieur. Thank you, sir.